Central Missouri, all went to Tennessee. People are worried about people going over to shop across the border in other states. Well, they can go across the border and shop in other states. I don't care if the jobs are coming here. It's going to solve a lot of ills. They're talking about 18 to 20,000 jobs more per year being created in Missouri than are currently being created under our current code. That means at the end of the 5-year implementation, we're looking at 90 to 100,000 jobs in Missouri. That solves a lot of ills. Get a big hurt.
I know in my district alone, I sent this out as a question in my survey, and it was over 60% of the people that said they supported it.
So why can't we
One of the biggest opponents we had last year was and I'm Catholic, was the Catholic Church, and they were opposing us because they thought the rate was going to be too high, and they were not aware that there had been a change in the bill, that the tuition in private schools would still be tax exempt, and they were also not aware that the donations to charitable giving would also be exempt. And somehow we've got to make sure that communication, because that is a huge block of voters, we have got to make sure that our religious people understand that the charitable giving goes up when you have more income in your pocket. The research done by Beacon Hill supports that. But somehow we have got to make sure that our churches have the honest picture about what this bill could do for Missouri. And that is something that all of you can take back to
That
the
also the prebate. A lot of people don't completely understand the prebate. And this bill really does not hurt low-income families at all. I mean, like I said, if you look at a family of 4 right at the poverty line, right now they're paying sales tax. Under this, the first $11,000 in spending is going to be exempt.
And no income.
And no income tax, right?
Okay.
I think there's a key message there, I think, that you want to understand. Remember when I hit the first time you said that. So, the board income tax, paying sales tax now, if we go to this, the sales tax they're currently paying now will not be paid until they reach above that poverty line.
Well, under the federal bill, that's the case. Under ours, in the state, right now, we have that 11,000. 11,200.
I'm sorry, I used wrong, but okay. They won't pay any taxes.
We'll pay the first 11,200 spending, 0 taxes.
Okay.
Forever good.
Randy?
Who's going to send the debit cards out? I know that's going to be
It's going to be.
okay, you're going to start another office.
Yeah, I mean, the Missouri Department of Revenue would be in charge of that.
No problems there. They say that we can do this without an extra expense, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, there will be an expense to it, for sure, but it's not going to be substantial. The federal bill calls for a monthly rebate. I don't want to do a monthly rebate. It's likely to be maybe once a quarter
Okay.
to cut down the cost.
So would it be a debit card? Or
It would likely, that would be probably the most cost-effective way to do it.
You send a debit card to a family every quarter.
No, they would just get it and it would be automatically reloaded.
Once they get the card, it's just reloaded.
Right. And there's really no.
Where do
almost
you
no
reload
expense.
a debit card?
You wouldn't have to do it, it's automatically done. Just like your credit card. Like you have a credit, you have a debit card. All right. If you have a debit card and you put money in the bank, you're able to spend more.
So it's also done on a direct deposit basis.
It could be. I don't think they'll go that route though. I think it will most likely be like a kind of like
I
a
just
credit.
thought maybe that would be more cost effective.
I probably think the credit card would probably be the most cost effective way.
At the national level, with the national fair tax bill, the cost of implementation is already figured into that percentage. So but that's not what we're really talking about tonight, we're talking about Missouri.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if we wanna move this forward, we're gonna have to get several, at the federal level, we're gonna have to get several states to do it. And I think that's the best way to do it.
Hey, and what's your, what groups do you got to fight against here? What you
Every
fight?
service lobby group.
Every service lobby.
And I'm a paint contractor. I have no problem with this, because I know people are gonna be moving to the state. There's gonna be more jobs for me to go get, to do painting for. But yeah, most service industries are gonna be opposed to it, but not necessarily the rank and file members. More so the associations.
So, that's right, so services in the past haven't been taxed like this, and this is new for them.
And another thing I'll say is that it's not necessarily new in other states. There's other states that, like Washington State, the state of Washington, taxes all kinds of services. Even though I believe the state of Kansas, I'm not 100% sure, I believe they tax new construction.
What about union? Composition union, they're so wise.
We can't do it.
I think unions will be opposed.
Can't you
Can't answer your
request
question. You should say about unions, they would be against it because of the service, right, the labor stuff.
Yeah, I think that'll likely be the case.
Pretty tough.
Well, I mean,
Opposition.
they're against most good ideas.
The whole thing is a doctor, your funeral director, they're paying their income taxes anyway. Instead of paying an income tax, it's gonna be, it's
Yeah,
gonna
I
be.
mean, what do businesses do?
Yeah.
All right, I run a business, I have an employee, what do? I do withholding taxes on them. All right, what does it change? Instead of doing withholding tax, I'm gonna do sales tax. I don't see the problem.
That's what I can't understand, how come people can't see that, that it's like that, but.
Do you see that you were gonna have to raise your rates, your fees for your service as a painter? You all said this, I think that's what they're gonna use. How do you, because there is a trade-off. You just mentioned, you're gonna be gaining expense. You're gonna be gaining money that's going to expense right now, paying taxes and filing things and keeping up with all this, withholding everything else. So you got some income savings there. So do you see yourself taking all that into account? How much would you have to raise?
You mean decrease?
No,
Or raise?
well, because that's what, I think it's the way it's gonna be presented, is that sales tax that you're going to charge. I'm going to have to raise my rates, I'm gonna lose my customers. I think that's the way they're going to attack it. So I'm just asking, your side of the table, you're in that business as a service provider. How do you analyze all that? Would you have to raise your?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of costs that are gonna be removed. Like for instance, the franchise tax.
Right.
I mean, if you wanna talk about manufacturing, that is very destructive, because it's a tax on the assets of the business. That's good.
The embedded tax is already in the product, right?
Right, yeah, that's an embedded tax, and that's going away. The corporate tax is going away. The income, it's really just a switch over from, instead of the employee and the employer paying it, gonna be the customer.
Right. So if your rates, pick a figure, if your rates were $30 an hour now, are you going to raise your hourly rate for your services?
No, my rate's
Lower.
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 It'd be the same or lower.
I'm glad I'm just trying to be devil's advocate here, because this is not going to be a tax. I want this to be in everybody's
The
mind.
customer
When you hear
pays the
that.
tax, the customer pays the sales tax, he as a painter contractor is not gonna pay the sales tax. And he's going to be ahead of the game.
I hear what you're
Because
saying.
he doesn't have to pay income tax now, and there's the products that he's perhaps vending, selling at the same time as he's providing the service, they're gonna be lower in price because the industry's gonna be able to have less embedded taxes. So in effect though, again, maybe the customer will have to pay a little bit more, but probably not, because the service is gonna be cheaper.
That's okay. Thank you.
Here's the difference, Andrew, your customers are paying your income tax,
Right.
and that they don't know, and so that's what it's really boils down to, is they're gonna pay a sales tax, they're gonna see it. And nobody sees that they're.
Right,
that we're
so right now
paying.
we have hidden taxes.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
But
transparent.
if all this passenger have some, the economy would be so great, jobs would be so great, profits would be so great, we're not gonna be worried about that. We'd be money to the Lord, and we're not gonna have to worry about it.
Some companies could even decide to
Well, I mean,
give
it's gonna be a better economy.
the benefit to their employees that they couldn't do before. Or even pay for healthcare or something.
That's gonna be really expensive.
Okay, if you're gonna talk about services, let's talk medical services for a second. If you go to a doctor's office, what kind of taxes do you pay that you don't realize? Well, all the people in the office, the income tax that the doctor has to pay on them is embedded in the cost that you pay. Okay? What he has to pay on his taxes is all in there. By removing the income tax factor, you are going to reduce your costs. Therefore, when you go back and you put the sales tax in, it's going to come close to a wash. A lot of folks need to pay attention to that, and the argument is going to be several-fold. If you're talking to a union man, look, union man, hey, instead of having 25 to 30% of your earnings held out, you're going to take this much of a raise because they're not withholding anymore. Well, it'd be federal, I apologize. State, you know, you're going to take a 7% raise.
Go to 6%.
6%, okay, you're gonna take a 6% raise. Okay, straight up, because that's not being withheld anymore. That's pretty good for you. And now you're taxed in Missouri only on what you spend. You know. Now, and the other thing is with the union, you know what? You're gonna take home more pay. I guess the union can raise your dues. Unions don't love that.
One thing is, at the federal level, overall, I think they say the prices will rise maybe 1%. The national fair tax is 23%, and embedded overall is about 22. So hopefully the state will be soon.
Well, that's the reason I thank you for your rebuttals, because that's the reason I raised that. Because in my experience, when I talk about this, that's what I'm hit with by the opposition, and on services especially. I can't charge my customers more. I'm going to be losing money if you want me to absorb the tax, because they're not going to pay the tax. And this is the kind of stuff I hear. And sometimes I'm just caught flat-footed. I don't have an answer like he has. That's a good answer. I
Well,
just bring that up so that we can be prepared.
Another thing I would say is by taxing someone's income, anything that they buy has already been taxed.
That's true.
When I've done that, what they buy? Buy food, buy medical services. It's already been taxed because of through the income tax.
Another great argument. Sorry. Is it okay to tax food? Food is a necessity. Is it okay to tax food? Now, I submit that under fair tax, or our version of fair tax, the answer is absolutely yes. Bear with me. Is there necessary and unnecessary food? We can agree there's necessary and unnecessary food. Okay, milk, peanut butter, eggs. Necessities?
And chocolate.
No. Necessities? No. If you're lactose intolerant, if you're allergic to peanut butter, if you can't stand eggs, who are you kidding? Under fair tax, with the prebate on the necessities, up to the necessities for life, you get to pick and choose the foods that fit your needs. And you don't have to be told by Big Brother, ooh, this is necessary. Ooh, this isn't. You're big boy, you can make up your own mind. Big
Amen.
Freedom. It's freedom. Now, if I go out and I lay out $2,000 for food at my daughter's wedding reception, while it's a wonderful thing, I have to admit that that's probably unnecessary food